This meeting is being recorded.
Wow. Hey, it is so awesome today to be here with you, Sumier. We have gone on a journey together, and great. Hayley's here with us too, and we want to talk a little bit about the buyer, or the journey as a buyer in San Francisco, and the trials and tribulations and the success that comes at the end. So can you tell us a little bit about your your experience of coming into the buying process in San Francisco?
Yeah, so happy to be here. Hey, Eddie and Hayley. I was looking at buying in San Francisco for quite a while because rents are pretty high here. And I remember the first time I met Hayley, I just wandered into an open house, and Hayley was representing the sellers, and she spent like 20 minutes talking to us and giving me and my friend the basics about buying a home in San Francisco. And I thought, wow, this is so great. Like, Haley is so helpful, and she really doesn't need to spend any time with us because what she's trying to do is sell this place. But she was just so nice and generous with her time. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to reach out to Haley when I'm ready to buy a house. And so sure enough, I did. And the funny thing for me is the whole process took, I don't know, almost 2 years. I looked at my first home with Haley in just before the pandemic, in like early 2020, and I loved that place. I loved it so much. I wanted to make an offer, and I did. And so I went through the whole process of writing an offer and everything. And then that place had a really nice view. And I think the buyer who ended up buying that place went just like, I think they made that super outlandish offer. So I lost out at that one. And I was like, okay, now this is the SF market that everyone warns me about. I guess this is welcome to the
SF
journey.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I made that offer in the beginning, and then there was like nothing after that. And then the pandemic hit, and then I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy, and I looked at a bunch of places, and none of them felt really right. So I think one of the things that I really learned was to kind of trust my gut. At least that's the kind of buyer I am, where I really have to have like a really good feeling about the place. I know for some folks they're a little bit more flexible, but I think it's so expensive here that for me, I was like, if I'm spending over $1 million,
Yeah.
I really don't want to love the place that I want to end up in. And so I remember Haley asking me, "What's your score for this place out of 10?" And that's a really nice way of like forcing yourself to really evaluate whether you love the place or just kind of like it. So that was really helpful to help me make up my mind whether to make an offer or not.
Yeah, that scale, we rely on it so heavily. That's it, because it's important to be you kind of know exactly where you are on the scale to keep everything appropriate for what decisions get made, because you shouldn't be making decisions for a 10 if you're really only a 7 on the scale. So,
and it's kind of a way to like objectify something that's so subjective.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's like a forcing function to make you do that.
Yeah.
Because then you have to like really think about like, oh, all these feelings I have about this place, if I had to boil them down into a number, how do I do that? So it's actually a really good exercise. I think another thing for me was just getting comfortable with buying in itself. Like, I'm not a first-time home buyer, but anywhere else in the country, pretty much, other than maybe New York, things are a lot more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting my head wrapped around affordability in SF, because it's not necessarily always the case that what you're going to be spending per month is going to be less than rent here.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of coming to terms with that and feeling okay with that and really figuring out how much I could afford. And part of that was creating a spreadsheet and looking at kind of like the net cost, because the tax breaks from the interest in the loan and closing costs and all that. All of those help, and those, you don't really see those in the beginning, so you have to really factor those in to really get a sense of what buying a home is going to cost you.
Yeah. And I think just to go back to as well to the point that you had made about feeling it in your gut, we say this to people that you'll know it when you're in it, and like when you find it. And it's a hard thing for people to grasp onto because it doesn't seem real. Like, hey, I go into this place and I see it and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I go into this place and I see it and I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, what does that really mean? And there's a certain point, I think it's when you have made some offers and you start to kind of see the matrix a little bit, where that feeling becomes much more tangible.
Yeah.
And
you kind of calibrate your internally, and you're like, oh, I really, now I know what it feels to really like something versus like just kind of feel good about something. And so yeah, that experience really helps, right?
So Sumier, do you feel like you wound up with the home that you were meant to have all along?
I really do. It's so interesting. Like, I was at a point where I wasn't super attached to anything I was making an offer on. Like, I think the first home I made an offer on, I was very attached because I was so like pictured myself living there, that view, all of that. But then after going through this for so long, I'd kind of not resigned myself, but I was like really careful and guarded. Like, I like this place, but if it doesn't work out, I'll be fine with it. But now that it did, I mean, it's so, it just checks all the boxes. It's so good. And I love this neighborhood. I'm on the Panhandle. I see like the park outside the window. It's got these huge like 10-foot ceilings. I mean, it's just great. So yeah, super happy. Yeah, you guys
we like to hear. That's what we like to hear, because we tell people that throughout the process, and it can be tiring. And I know that some people want to just knock me on the head when I say it sometimes, but I promise them that it is true. And I think that I appreciate that you do believe that, you feel that way. So we're so excited for you.
Yeah, it's just a great thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, well, is there anything that you learned that you would share as a little nugget that would be like, hey, you may not have thought about this, but this is a little Cliff Bar you can stick in your pocket to maybe munch on when you need some energy to kind of keep going in the process when you're out there?
Putting me on the spot here. I know that right after this call, I'm going to think of a really good nugget, and I'm going to be like, damn, why didn't I think?
Yeah, you'll be texting it.
No, I think being patient is key. And I think, I mean, honestly, I'm really thankful to you all, because one of the things I never felt was pressure to make a decision. And I really appreciated that you all were like, you do what is right for you, because we want to make sure you're happy in the long term. And so I think I really felt like I lucked out by like, meeting you all. Because it really, I don't think I would have personally done very well in that high pressure situation. I would have felt bad. So this, it took a long time. So, and you all are so patient. So yeah, that's probably my nugget is trust the elevation team. And enjoy.
Well, thank you for that. I think that
it's so awesome.
That nugget really is like, go at your own pace, right? Go at your, whatever works for you and your cadence. Everybody's got a different, life going on. So you just have to go at your own pace. But I'm glad that you never felt pressure from us.
And you had some big life changes too in that process.
And I did have some major life changes, and I had to completely take a break for a while, and then come back to it. And honestly, like, it feels almost like symbolic, the fact that this happened now for me. So it all worked out in the end. It's a tough market, and a lot of things that you think you are going to be easy to do in other markets, like remodeling, or things like that you can't take for granted in SF. So like before you make any assumptions, like find out what it's actually going to take to do those things that you think you might be able to. So.
Fair play.
Yeah, totally. We Hayley and I have talked about, we need to do just one of these where we talk about kind of what is involved in remodeling and dealing with that stuff in the city. Like
It's not like
is
HGTV.
barking. Yeah, sorry about my dog. My dog is.
No.
Well, Sumier, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with us and whoever watches this. And we just can't wait to come and toast to you in your new spot. So,
Yeah, you all should come visit soon. It's almost ready to like have people over. The last few boxes are still there, but
Well, you are on the Bay to Breakers route, so we'll have to, we'll have to maybe stop by on some sort of when that gets back going at some point.
yeah, you're more than welcome to.
You're awesome. Thank you, Sumier. It was so great.
Thank you so much, Sumier.
Thank you.
Thank you.